is going on, everyone? So this is my top 10 worst films of 2019 list. And yeah, it's the end of the year. I still can't believe it, guys. But instead of going right into my top 10 worst movies of 2019 list, I'm going to first mention some dishonorable mentions. And then after that exposition, I will then go from 10 to 1, with 1 being the worst film of 2019 according to me. Now keep in mind, these are all my opinions. So if you disagree, that's okay. I'm curious to hear your guys' thoughts in the comment section down below. But for now, let's get into it. So, dishonorable mentions are Countdown, 6 Underground, Star Wars, Rise of Skywalker, Last Christmas, Overcomer, Detective Pikachu, Crystal Llorona, Miss Bala, and Wounds. So those are the dishonorable mentions. Now, without further ado, let's get into the top 10 worst films of 2019. So, number 10 is Black Christmas. This movie was a remake of the original 1974 film, I believe it was, and I didn't like the original, so I was very much so excited for the remake because when an original film is terrible and they're remaking it, I'm always about that kind of, filmmaking, because why would you remake a movie that's perfect? You wouldn't. But when you're remaking a movie that wasn't good to begin with, there's so much potential. But unless that potential was wasted on a movie that has such heavy-handed messages, terrible filmmaking, and laugh-out-loud moments that were unintentional. This was a movie, though, that I can't lie, as terrible as it was enjoyable seeing in theaters. I saw it with a friend, and we had a lot to say. There's one scene where a character, literally gets stabbed with an icicle, and it's like, there's just so many jokes that I was making about the movie. Not going to get into that because it would be too long. Number 9, though, let's get into number 9. Number 9 is Maleficent, Mistress of Evil. I am definitely in the minority with this movie in terms of audiences. This has like a 95% on Rotten Tomatoes in terms of audiences. I absolutely hated this movie, though. I felt like it was a dumbed-down version of Game of Thrones Season 8, Episode 5 episode. This movie was terrible. I thought the first Maleficent was alright, but this one takes it to a whole nother level of just bland, blockbuster filmmaking. There wasn't one thing about this movie that I liked other than probably the production values, which goes without saying, it's a Disney movie, but everything else is just sidelined. Even Angelina Jolie gets sidelined throughout most of the movie. This was a movie that, so much potential, you have a $200 million budget, and you throw it out the window. So, that's why it's my number 9. I know it's probably an unpopular opinion, but hey, it's my list, Number 8, though, we got a movie that was worse than Maleficent, Mistress of Evil, and that was Terminator Dark Fate. Every single thing about the Terminator franchise is copy and paste post-Terminator 2. I felt like Terminator Dark Fate, though, was such a terrible movie because of how much it stole from all the other Terminator movies. But not only that, even the CGI really wasn't that convincing. The action scenes were really bland. The acting was at best. Humor didn't really work. And I thought the overall ending fell flat for me. It was a movie that overall wasn't just a disappointment. I thought altogether, I think the filmmaking just didn't really gel. And I really do hope that it's the end of the franchise because I want to forget about 3, 4, and 5. I want to forget about this franchise. I really do. So that's why it is my number 8. Number 7 is a movie, again, that was a bit worse. And that was Dark Phoenix, the finale of the X-Men franchise until Disney took over. This movie has one good thing about it, and that is the score by Hans Zimmer. Everything else is a mess. Everything that I don't like about blockbusters is in this movie on full display. A loud, over-blaring, sound design, visual effects that look unconvincing at best, and at worst, just laughable. Acting that ranges from alright to just, It's just a movie overall that's very ugly looking and at the same time just ends on a whimper. And I don't understand why the movie got made because it didn't do well at the box office and critically it also didn't really pan out too well. So I'm definitely in the majority with this one. I really did not like this movie and that's why it's my number 7. Men in Black International. That's right, Men in Black International is my number 6. This is a movie, I'm not even going to lie to you guys. I got like an hour into this movie in theaters, fell asleep, and woke up when there was a villain reveal. And I was like, okay, perfect. I could just walk out now. And then the movie continued going on, and there was another villain reveal that I predicted like 5 minutes into the movie. And I thought that when I woke up, I was like, oh wow, they subverted my expectations. But instead, it just fell literally into all the tropes of other movies. And again, I'm saying right now, I fell asleep to the movie, but that's because I was so bored by this. I love the first Men in Black movie, but much of the same way as Terminator, Dark Fate, I feel like all the sequels just fall flat for me. Especially since you take out Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones. Why? You know, and I get it if you want to do like a Valkyrie and Thor movie, but let Marvel do that, you know, just do your own thing. And unfortunately they didn't. There wasn't a single original idea in this movie, and not even an idea that like has done before but done better. It was just something that overall was cookie cutter filmmaking, but also suffered from chemistry that kind of fell flat, CGI that again wasn't convincing, a score that was at best, and an ending that sets up for a sequel that I really do hope we do not get. So my number 5 though is The Intruder. This was one of the first great experiences in theaters for me this year. The Intruder is so bad it's good. This is Dennis Quaid and Michael Ealy and a slew of other actors. This movie is hilarious. I didn't see it with anyone. I went by myself. But the theater I was seeing it with, everyone did not know how to react. There were some people that were laughing along with me, but then there were other people that just weren't sure what to react to, because there's just certain things that go on where it's like, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. And the scriptwriter's like, disregard it. And it's like they go to something else completely. And I think it's hilarious. And I also think that I haven't really been talking about cinematography with, you know, all these other, you know, choices on my list, but that's because most of them are just like either or not worth talking about because they're like This movie, I will say, the cinematography is terrible. A lot of shaky camera usage, but it's not even done well. Like, I'm fine with shaky camera if it's done well, but this movie did not utilize it correctly. The color palette also really did not work. Score choices were like, And the movie's overall creepy, but not in like the, oh my goodness, this is so terrifying way. It's more in a, wow, they really went for this. So, yeah, that's my number 5. Again, I enjoyed it. It was a terrible movie. Number 4 is Hellboy. Hellboy's a remake of the Guillermo del Toro movie. And I was honestly excited for this movie, given the fact that it was an R-rated comic book movie. But that's the only positive I can honestly say. And even that is not even a positive, because yes, this movie's R-rated, but it's R-rated in the most bland way. Like, there is blood in it, but it's all CGI and it's very obvious. Action scenes are bland. I know I'm saying that a lot with all these movies, but it's the truth. A lot of these do have bland action. Performances that are unconvincing. It's a good cast, but they're just unconvincing performances. Pacing that's very glacial. Exposition that feels very forced. And just overall a ending that is setting up a sequel that I'm pretty sure none of us are asking for. But yeah, this movie's just so bad. I saw it with a friend. We both enjoyed how terrible it was. But again, it's still a really, really bad film. So that was my number 4. Number 3 is a movie that I had heard about for quite some time. I finally saw it, I believe it was about a month ago. Finally dropped on Amazon Prime, and I was like, all right, let's give it a go. And it lived up to the hype. And that was number 3, The Fanatic, with John Travolta. Yeah, this movie's bad. It's not my number 1, but that's just because I went into it knowing it was probably going to be bad. And so I give it like credit where credit's due. Like, it's just, with what it set out to do, and again, I don't know if it's set out to do, but I feel like maybe it was, so just go based off my thoughts. With what it set out to do, it succeeds because it's such a confusing mess of a movie that at the same time garners so much unintentional laughter that as a comedy it really works. As a drama, it really fails. Like, I feel like maybe the filmmaker was trying to think of an Oscar bait movie, but instead he made a so bad it's good bait movie, and it works because I really fell for this movie. I thought it was terrible, but very enjoyable at the same time. Holy cow, listen to that dialogue. It sings. So that's my number 3. My number 2 is a movie that I believe it was the first movie I saw in 2019, and what a great start to the year. Holy cow. Number 2 is Replicas. The first thing that came out of my mouth, I believe, after the movie ended was, wow, I can't wait for John Wick Chapter 3 so I can forget about this movie. But unfortunately, I didn't forget about this movie because here we are, 11 months later, and I'm putting it on my top 10 worst movies of 2019 list. I love science fiction, especially cerebral science fiction movies that really start talking about thought-provoking ideas and messages. But the thing is with this movie is that it does all of this in a way that really starts to question your sanity, in that there are so many plot holes, and I hate that word, plot holes, but this movie's really fitting for it because the writing for this movie is terrible. Some of the worst of the year, honestly. And there's so many questions that it poses but it doesn't even answer those. And then there are other ones that it tries to answer, but it tackles it in a way that's really creepy. And at the same time, you just kind of have to wonder what the filmmakers were going for. Also, the acting is really bad. Like, holy cow, the acting is terrible in this movie. I like Keanu Reeves, but I thought his performance was like, whoa, 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 whoa. But thank God this is one of those movies on the list that actually isn't trying to set up a sequel. It's a movie that knows that it probably won't get a sequel, and so it stands on its own, but that's probably where the positives end for me. It's really bad. But there was a movie that was worse than it. And it's a movie that I hate so much. And apparently there are people that defend it. Like, if you check out my review for this movie, there are people that defend it. Like, there was literally someone that said you should go back in time and abort yourself. That comment was awesome. I actually pinned that. I was like, that's hilarious, especially given the subject matter. And my number one is Unplanned. Wow, this movie is, it's bad, man. It's bad. Like, when people talk about filmmaking being so bad it's good, but at the same time also cringy, I feel like they're trying to think of a movie like Unplanned, because Unplanned is a movie that I was honestly kind of excited for, because I heard the buzz about it being a PureFlix movie and being like the first R-rated PureFlix movie, and I was like, oh, cool. And then you see the scenes where it's R-rated, and it's like, that does not look convincing at all. There's like an abortion scene, and it's supposed to be like all sad, but the dialogue with the doctor is so bad that it's hilarious, and it's backed up by the fact that the baby, or the fetus I should say, literally looks like gelatin. And I'm like, that should not look tasty. Like, that looks like it's an organic, like organic, like jelly bean or something. Like, what is going on here? And that's the thing. This movie, I feel like its messages, it's trying to tackle a topic that is controversial even in today's world, but it does so in such a blunt, heavy-handed way that it's like it's getting a hammer and just bashing you over the head with it, and then at the end it's saying, "Are you good? Are you good? Are you good?" And you're just like, I don't feel anything. That's the thing. I didn't feel anything while watching this movie other than just kind of saying, "This got made. This actually got made." And there's some defenders for me. There are people that will defend this movie, but for me personally, I cannot defend this movie. It's the worst movie I've seen of 2019, and it's a movie you gotta watch. You really do have to watch, and that's why it's my number one. So guys, that's my top 10 worst films of 2019 list. What are your top 10 worst films of 2019 list? Also, I wanted to say this right now. My top 10 best movies of 2019 list, that will be something that will come out probably in a couple of weeks. I'm waiting until 1917 comes out in my area, which is like January 10th. The thing is, in my area, we get movies later on usually, so I'm not one of those people where I see a lot of people where it's like, yo, I got my top 10 best movies of 2019 list out, like, before the end of the year, and I'm like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to sacrifice, potentially great movies that could be on my list just so I can get it out faster. So, also, I wanted to say the reason why Cats isn't on this list of top 10 worst is because I didn't see it yet. Maybe it will be on there. I don't know. I did that last year also where I did the list and then I saw a movie and I was like, oh wow, that probably would have been on there. Last year that was with Holmes and Watson. This year might be with Cats. I don't know, but we'll find out. Follow me on Letterboxd, you'll see. But anyways, again, let me know your thoughts, guys. Enough of that exposition. Let me know your thoughts of the top 10 worst films of 2019. For you, comment section down below. And as always, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget the subscription, notification bell, and I'll catch you guys later.